One fact rarely discussed in routine medical visits is that after the age of 60, drinking plain water may not support circulation in the same way it once did. The issue is not that water becomes harmful. The real problem is that aging blood vessels no longer react to hydration as efficiently as they did at 40. This idea sounds surprising at first. Yet the assumption that plain water automatically improves circulation in older adults is not always correct. In certain situations, consuming large amounts without the proper accompanying compound may even reduce vascular performance. There is a specific adjustment that can be made to drinking water at a particular time of day. Research indicates that this change can improve peripheral blood flow in adults over 60 by a clinically meaningful degree. The effect can appear within approximately 45 minutes rather than taking weeks. The ingredient involved is inexpensive, commonly available, and found in most grocery stores. Yet very few people use it for this purpose. To understand why, it is necessary to examine what happens inside the circulatory system after 60 years of age. Blood vessels are not simply passive tubes. They are living structures. The interior lining of every vessel, from major arteries to the smallest capillaries in the fingers and toes, consists of endothelial cells. These cells perform many functions, but one of their most important roles is producing nitric oxide. This molecule signals blood vessels to relax and widen. When nitric oxide is released, vessels expand, circulation improves, oxygen reaches tissues more effectively, the brain receives adequate fuel, and the small vessels of the hands and feet remain warm and responsive. Strong nitric oxide production is closely linked to strong circulation. After 60, however, the enzyme responsible for creating nitric oxide, known as endothelial nitric oxide synthase, becomes far less active. Studies have demonstrated that nitric oxide availability in adults over 60 may be between 50% and 75% lower than in individuals in their 30s. This reduction is substantial. It represents a major change in vascular function. Two additional age-related factors further complicate the situation. The first involves blood viscosity. As people grow older, red blood cells lose part of their flexibility. As a result, blood becomes slightly thicker and moves with greater resistance. The difference can be compared to olive oil kept at room temperature versus olive oil stored in a refrigerator. The substance is identical, yet the flow characteristics are noticeably different. The second factor concerns plasma volume and thirst perception. The fluid component of blood gradually decreases while the body's thirst signals become weaker. Many adults over 60 live in a state of mild chronic dehydration without realizing it because the sensation of thirst is no longer as strong as it once was. As a result, three separate challenges occur simultaneously. Blood vessels do not widen efficiently. Blood does not move as smoothly. Total fluid volume is reduced. This combination defines the circulatory environment experienced by many people beyond 60 years of age. When a glass of plain water is consumed, it mainly addresses the third issue by adding fluid volume. It does not directly increase nitric oxide production. Its influence on blood thickness is limited to minor dilution effects. Moreover, large quantities of plain water consumed without sufficient minerals may dilute important electrolytes. Magnesium and potassium are especially important because vascular smooth muscle relies on them to relax properly. Even a modest decline in magnesium levels can increase vascular tension. Blood vessels become tighter. Blood pressure may rise slightly. Peripheral circulation can deteriorate rather than improve. This helps explain why many older adults who faithfully drink 8 glasses of water every day still experience cold hands and feet. They may continue to struggle with afternoon tiredness or mental fog despite adequate fluid intake. The water volume is present, but the vascular response is not. One example involved a 67-year-old retired engineer named Raymond. Raymond carefully monitored his hydration for 2 years. Every day he consumed 8 glasses of water without exception because he believed hydration was essential for cardiovascular wellness. Yet his symptoms continued to worsen. His hands remained cold even during summer. He began taking afternoon naps despite never needing them during his working years. Climbing stairs produced an unusual heaviness in his legs, as though the muscles were not receiving the support they required. Routine laboratory testing showed little cause for concern. Most values appeared normal, and he had repeatedly been told that everything looked fine. A review of his daily habits revealed the issue. Raymond was adequately hydrated from a volume standpoint, but his vascular system lacked the biological signals needed to respond effectively to that hydration. The situation resembled filling a storage tank while the delivery network remained partially obstructed. The explanation centers on a concept that many people have never encountered before: the dietary nitrate to nitric oxide pathway. Certain foods contain compounds known as dietary nitrates. The body can transform these compounds into nitric oxide. This pathway is separate from the nitric oxide generated by endothelial cells. That distinction is especially important for adults over 60, because the dietary route bypasses the endothelial enzyme whose activity declines with age. It does not rely on endothelial nitric oxide synthase. Instead, it creates nitric oxide through an entirely different mechanism. The process begins when dietary nitrates are absorbed through the stomach and small intestine. After entering the bloodstream, they travel to the salivary glands. There, beneficial bacteria in the mouth convert them into a substance known as nitrite. After oral bacteria transform nitrate into nitrite, that nitrite is swallowed and returns to the stomach. Inside the acidic gastric environment, it undergoes another conversion and becomes nitric oxide. The newly formed nitric oxide is then absorbed into circulation, where it sends signals that encourage blood vessels to widen. From the moment of consumption to the initial vascular response, the process generally requires between 30 and 90 minutes. The benefits continue for several hours, with another noticeable peak occurring approximately 3 to 4 hours later. Among all dietary nitrate sources studied by researchers, beetroot remains one of the most concentrated and extensively examined. Because nitrate levels differ significantly among products, selecting one that clearly states nitrate content per serving is important. Clinical trials commonly used amounts providing between 300 and 500 milligrams of dietary nitrate. This quantity can usually be obtained from 1 to 2 teaspoons of a high-quality concentrated beetroot powder. A major study published in Hypertension reported that dietary nitrate derived from beetroot, taken daily, produced lasting reductions in blood pressure, while also improving vascular performance in patients with hypertension. Another investigation found that a single serving of beetroot generated measurable improvements in peripheral forearm circulation among adults over 60 within roughly 3 hours. Cardiovascular advantages became greater when intake was maintained consistently each day. However, there is an essential detail that many people overlook. The transformation of dietary nitrate into nitric oxide relies heavily on bacteria living in the mouth. Using an antibacterial mouthwash before consuming nitrate-rich foods can eliminate the microorganisms required for the first stage of conversion. Without those bacteria, nitrite cannot be produced. Without nitrite, this pathway cannot generate nitric oxide. The entire sequence is interrupted. Research has demonstrated this effect directly. Individuals who used chlorhexidine mouthwash, a widely prescribed antibacterial rinse, before drinking beetroot juice experienced significantly weaker nitric oxide responses than participants who avoided mouthwash. The dietary nitrate still entered the bloodstream. Yet because oral bacteria were unable to perform the first conversion, the chain reaction failed to proceed normally. This is the common mistake many older adults make. Some people try beetroot, spinach, or arugula in hopes of improving circulation and notice little benefit. Frequently, they brush their teeth, rinse with mouthwash, and only afterward consume the nitrate-rich food or beverage. That order prevents the mechanism from functioning as intended. The complete approach involves more than simply drinking beetroot juice. While beetroot alone can produce measurable effects, the full method includes 2 additional components that considerably enhance the circulatory response, and neither requires any financial cost. The process begins with preparation. On the evening before and the morning of the protocol, antibacterial mouthwash should be avoided. This step is essential. Normal toothbrushing remains acceptable because mechanical cleaning does not interfere with the pathway. The concern is specifically antibacterial rinses that reduce the population of oral bacteria needed for nitrate conversion. Individuals using prescription antibacterial mouthwash for gum disease should consult their dentist before making changes. For most older adults, however, removing a commercial antibacterial rinse from the morning routine is generally safe and may substantially improve the effectiveness of the protocol. The drink itself is prepared in the morning approximately 30 to 45 minutes before the first physical activity of the day. This could be a short walk, gentle stretching, or simply getting dressed and preparing breakfast. The mixture is made using 250 milliliters of room temperature water. The water should not be cold or hot. Room temperature is preferred because cold water can trigger mild gastric vasoconstriction, slowing absorption. Into that water, add 1 level teaspoon of pure beetroot powder. Such products are commonly available through health food stores, pharmacies, and online retailers. Choose a preparation containing no added sugar and no artificial flavoring. Ideally, the ingredient list should contain only beetroot powder. A small amount of citric acid used as a preservative is also acceptable. Next, include a small pinch of high-quality sea salt. Unlike ordinary table salt, which has had trace minerals removed, sea salt provides small quantities of magnesium and potassium. Although modest, these amounts are physiologically meaningful. They support relaxation of vascular smooth muscle through a separate mechanism and may improve cellular responsiveness to nitric oxide after it is formed. An optional addition is 1/4 teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar. Its mild acidity may slightly improve the conversion of nitrite into nitric oxide within the stomach. In several small pilot studies, participants reported a stronger sensation of warmth in the extremities when vinegar was included compared with when it was omitted. This ingredient is not required. However, individuals who tolerate it comfortably may find it enhances the overall response. Once all ingredients are combined, stir thoroughly and consume the drink slowly over 3 to 5 minutes, rather than finishing it immediately. A slower pace increases contact time with oral bacteria, allowing the first conversion stage to occur more effectively. The next component involves breathing. Within 2 minutes after finishing the drink, perform 6 cycles of controlled nasal breathing using a specific pattern. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Pause gently for 2 seconds. Exhale through the nose while producing a soft humming sound for 6 seconds. Repeat this sequence 6 times. This step strengthens the protocol for a specific reason. The paranasal sinuses, hollow spaces located within the bones surrounding the nose, produce nitric oxide independently. With each nasal breath, some of that nitric oxide enters the airway. Research conducted at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden confirmed that the sinus epithelium continuously generates nitric oxide. This nitric oxide reaches the lungs and is subsequently absorbed into pulmonary circulation. Additional work by researchers at Karolinska demonstrated that humming during exhalation can increase nitric oxide release from the sinuses by as much as 15 times compared with silent exhalation. The vibrating airflow improves gas exchange between the sinus cavities and the nasal passages, greatly increasing nitric oxide transfer. That is why the protocol specifies a gentle humming sound during exhalation. By combining nitric oxide generated from dietary nitrate in the bloodstream with nitric oxide released through nasal breathing, 2 independent sources are activated simultaneously. The effects are additive. Blood vessels receive a stronger and more consistent relaxation signal from both pathways at the same time. The 6 breathing cycles require approximately 72 seconds to complete. After finishing both the drink and the breathing routine, a movement period should begin within 30 to 45 minutes. The activity does not need to be strenuous. Duration is also modest. A walk lasting 10 to 15 minutes is sufficient. Light stretching works as well. Climbing a few flights of stairs or performing a gentle series of standing exercises can also fulfill this requirement. The final step plays an important role for a specific reason. When nitric oxide causes blood vessels to widen, a temporary opportunity is created. The vessels remain more open, circulation becomes more responsive, and the entire system is prepared to deliver oxygen more efficiently. Movement during this period significantly strengthens the effect. Physical activity increases endothelial shear stress, the force generated as blood travels more rapidly through the vessels. That force itself stimulates additional nitric oxide release from the endothelium. In practical terms, 2 connected processes are working together. Dietary nitrate initiates vessel relaxation. Physical activity performed during that same period generates shear stress, helping maintain and extend the vasodilation response. Together, these mechanisms produce greater improvements in peripheral circulation than either strategy can achieve independently. Research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology demonstrated that dietary nitrate supplementation improved skeletal muscle blood flow and vasodilation in older adults during exercise. The same response was not observed in younger individuals. The findings supported the idea that the nitrate pathway helps compensate for age-related reductions in nitric oxide signaling. Timing proved critical. Nitrate intake followed by movement within the target window delivered the greatest benefit. The complete nitric oxide reset consists of avoiding antibacterial mouthwash on the evening before and the morning of the protocol. Beetroot powder is mixed into room temperature water with a small amount of sea salt, and, if desired, apple cider vinegar. The drink is consumed slowly approximately 30 to 45 minutes before activity. Immediately afterward, 6 rounds of slow nasal breathing are performed, each ending with a gentle humming exhalation. Light movement then follows within the 30 to 45-minute window. People often want to know what results to expect. During the first week, many individuals notice increased warmth in their hands and feet within 30 to 60 minutes after consuming the drink. This reflects the vasodilation response. Blood vessels are opening more effectively, allowing circulation to reach the extremities more efficiently. The sensation is usually subtle rather than dramatic. Many describe it as their hands finally reaching a normal temperature after feeling chronically cool for years. By the second and third weeks, daily use begins producing cumulative effects. Regular dietary nitrate intake gradually increases nitric oxide availability. As the pathway is activated repeatedly, the body becomes more efficient at utilizing it. At this stage, many individuals report better afternoon energy levels. A common observation is reduced severity of the post-lunch energy decline experienced by many older adults. Between weeks 4 and 8, cognitive changes often become the most noticeable. People frequently report clearer thinking in the morning, easier word retrieval, and a return of mental sharpness that had seemed diminished for years. From a physiological perspective, this observation is understandable. The brain receives approximately 20% of the body's blood supply and responds very quickly to changes in circulation. Improvements in vascular function may become apparent in cognition before they are obvious in many other areas. There is one additional point worth mentioning. Beetroot powder commonly changes the color of urine and, in some cases, stool. A reddish-pink appearance may develop. This effect is harmless. It results from a pigment known as betalain and should not be interpreted as bleeding or evidence of disease. Many people become concerned when they first notice it, so understanding the cause can prevent unnecessary worry. Individuals currently using blood pressure medication should also be aware that this protocol may enhance the blood pressure-lowering effects of those medications. That does not necessarily mean the protocol should be avoided. However, blood pressure should be monitored during the first 2 weeks, and a physician should be informed that dietary nitrate has been added to the routine. The combined effects are generally manageable and are often viewed positively, but medical awareness remains important. 8 weeks after beginning the protocol, Raymond returned for a follow-up visit. His routine consisted of the morning beetroot drink, the nasal breathing sequence immediately afterward, and a daily 15-minute walk completed within the designated time window. Nothing else had changed. His medications remained the same. He had not dramatically altered his diet. He had not enrolled in a gym or adopted a new exercise program. The only adjustments were one morning beverage and a different schedule for his daily walk. The cold hands had disappeared. He mentioned it casually, almost making the significance easy to overlook. His hands felt warm every morning. The afternoon nap was no longer necessary. He did not eliminate it through determination or discipline. The fatigue that had previously required the nap simply was not present. The heaviness he once felt while climbing stairs had improved enough that he began taking stairs again without thinking about it. One statement stood out during the appointment. Raymond, an engineer who valued evidence and measurement, reflected on the previous 2 years he had spent tracking his hydration. He had consumed 8 glasses of water every day and believed he was doing everything correctly. Then, he realized something important. He had been addressing the wrong issue. That observation captures the central idea. Fluid volume alone is not enough. Hydration by itself cannot solve a problem caused by inadequate vascular signaling. The water was present. The missing element was the chemistry. That chemistry is the key concept. After the age of 60, the primary obstacle to healthy circulation is often not dehydration itself. The larger challenge is reduced nitric oxide production, something plain water cannot correct. The proposed solution is activation of the dietary nitrate pathway, a route that bypasses the aging endothelial enzyme and provides nitric oxide through a direct conversion process. The protocol can be summarized simply. Avoid antibacterial mouthwash on the evening before and the morning of the routine. Mix 1 to 2 teaspoons of pure beetroot powder into 250 milliliters of room temperature water. Add a small pinch of sea salt and, if desired, apple cider vinegar. Consume the drink slowly. Immediately afterward, complete 6 cycles of nasal breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Pause for 2 counts. Exhale with a gentle hum for 6 counts. Then engage in light physical activity within 30 to 45 minutes. Continue the routine consistently for 8 weeks. Allow the body to experience healthy peripheral circulation again. Before making any modification to a health routine, consult a physician. This recommendation is not merely procedural. It is an important part of responsible health management. If this information was useful, share it with someone who may benefit from understanding the relationship between circulation, nitric oxide, and healthy aging. Follow for more evidence-based discussions focused on health after 60. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.